Good evening and welcome to the April 12th, 2016 School Committee meeting. We're happy to have you join us. This meeting is being recorded by Easthampton Media. Easthampton Media channels 191, 192, and 193 is looking for volunteers. If anyone is interested in helping to tape city government meetings, please contact Kathy Lynch at 413-203-1360. Superintendent Follinsby, do you have some announcements for us?
I do have some announcements this evening. The next regular school committee meetings are April 26th, May 10th, June 14th, and June 28th. The Parent Advisory Council will meet at Easthampton High School on April 13th, 2016. There is no school April 18th through the 22nd due to Patriots' Day and spring break. There is a half day of school on Friday, May 6th due to teacher professional development. There is no school on Monday, May 30th due to Memorial Day. The last day of school is currently scheduled for Tuesday, June 21st, which should be the last day. I said that the last time, but I'm pretty sure we're safe this time. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I'll jinx us.
We never know in New England.
We never know. And I have a few other announcements. There will be a heritage dinner at Whitebrook Middle School on April 12th. The fourth grades at Maple School will be taking a trip to Symphony Hall on April 12th. That should be exciting for them. There will be a fine arts and cultural celebration at Whitebrook Middle School on April 13th. And there will be a cultural festival at Pepin School on April 29th. Great events, and I encourage you to attend all of them.
Thank you very much. Do we have any correspondence?
We do. We have a letter from the Office of the District Attorney, David E. Sullivan. And the district attorney is thrilled that a team from our school district is planning to attend one of the screening, brief intervention, and referral to treatment, or SBIRT, trainings offered in Hadley and Greenfield. SBIRT is an evidence-based approach to substance use prevention. So, very happy to have representatives from the district attending. That is it.
Very good.
And I would maybe just mention here, we'll get more more information on it's. They shorten it to SBIRT.
SBIRT, thank you.
In the future, it is a program that we'll be implementing in our schools in the fall. It's highly recommended as a great preventative measure for our youth to prevent substance abuse. And as you can see from the district attorney's letter, it's supported by him and law enforcement, and we're really very excited about it. The training did occur. Nurses from our staff attended, and they will be the primary people who will be involved in this program. But we will have our district nurse leader come and give you all a background on this program and what it will be like when we implement it.
Great.
Very good. Our thanks to David Sullivan. Okay, gifts.
And so related, we would like to please vote to accept with gratitude and appreciation the following gift. From the Office of the District Attorney, David E. Sullivan, $1,000 to enable the district to cover the cost of sending staff members to the SBIRT training in Hadley.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, this is now the public speak portion of our meeting. This time we invite anyone from the public who would like to come up and speak with us about any topic not on the agenda to do so at this time. And it doesn't look as though anyone is here to do that. So we will move on to the next segment of our meeting, which is a presentation from Marcia Levy, who is our EEASP Program Director at Maple School.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I appreciate this opportunity to highlight Maple School's 21st Century Community Learning Center. After 7 years in development, I think it's time to share who we are and how we complement the Easthampton schools. I'm Marcia Levy, coordinator of the program we call the Easthampton Enrichment AfterSchool Program, or EEASP. I bring my experience as an artist, educator, and business owner to the work I do at Maple. Our 21st Century program is managed by the Collaborative for Educational Services in Northampton. My supervisor, Chris Taggart, is director and grant writer for all collaborative after-school sites. With me also is one of our EEASP activity leaders, Katie Sweet, who has helped develop our educational teaching tools and is an education major at Bay Path University. Currently, Maple's program is one of 3 21st Century grant-funded sites in Easthampton Public Schools. We offer Maple School students 32 weeks of project-based academic enrichment for grades 1 through 5, 5 days a week, and a 4-week Nature's Classroom outdoor summer camp. We enroll many students recruited by Maple School specialists and classroom teachers who believe they would benefit from additional academic or social support. I have included this slide to emphasize how many factors go into the work we do and our relationship builder. Slowly, over time. It takes a while. I believe we are only as strong as the structure beneath us. As with all federal grants, our after-school budget receives less funding as time goes on. So the more in-kind support our 21st Century receives, the better future is secured at Maple School. Our project-based enrichments complement and support the school day and are designed to keep students engaged. Students build, create, and move their bodies. They let go of classroom pressures and have a lot of fun learning new skills from a variety of talented adults who bring their expertise to program design. The EEASP provides an atmosphere that fosters creativity and the opportunity to understand how the content learned in the classroom connects to everyday life. Our students explore how to connect sports and mathematics, drawing, geometry, science, and cooking. Embedding academics into a hands-on activities program offers a richer and more in-depth learning experience. As with all 21st Century sites, the EEASP is held accountable by the Massachusetts Department of Education with the goal of promoting academic success and social emotional development. We accomplish this by threading a variety of math-integrated activity throughout a 2.5-hour daily program. We also offer homework support in the library 4 days a week. In our daily group meeting, we explore social issues like what it means to be a friend, how it feels to be respectful, responsible, and safe, and a peacemaker throughout the day. Our group meeting provides a forum for students to share a point of view, describe how they've learned a math practice during class, or lead the group in our EEASP Peace Pledge. I read poetry during meeting and know this offers students a chance for calm before transitioning to hour-long enrichment classes. Enrollment in our program is typically 40 students a day, with 200 students attending per week, depending on class offerings. By providing 4 8-week sessions, students test out a variety of disciplines, and it's often the first time a student is exposed to a genre, like this session's martial arts, wild weather science, paper engineers, chef school, idea factory, or movie making. It's wonderful to watch the joy on the face of a student when they excel at something they never knew they were good at. I liken it to being a window thrown wide open. Each daily enrichment class enrolls 10 mixed-age students. We especially like the leadership opportunities that arise when 3rd and 4th graders assist younger students in our program day. The younger students are excited to be given special treatment by an older student, and the older student experiences pride and accomplishment by being a positive role model. It's a good, feel-good learning opportunity for both sides and demonstrates the importance of collaboration, which in the social emotional context leads to a sense of belonging, and we all need that. At the EEASP, we've created a variety of intentional, educational, creative tools to complement enrichment classes like curriculum planning templates, door count reader, trifold boards, and Common Core math practice cards. With the support of Maple's math specialist and first grade teacher, we were inspired to create these math practice cards in a playful, intentional way. During group meeting, students used these laminated cards to communicate how a math practice was learned in a previous enrichment class. Every time students share a math practice, staff can observe how much a lesson is absorbed, and the student practices important communication skills and is inspiring others. Our students look forward to Community Share Week, which takes place twice during the school year and features presentations by all our students with friends and families invited to attend. Even the shyest student speaks into the microphone and is given the chance to shine. This demonstration time also serves to inform students about a class they might consider signing up for the future. The EEASP provides a happy, safe, academically challenging environment where students feel good about themselves, develop strong connections to their school community and after-school staff. We know a student benefits academically by having their social and emotional needs met first. A strong adult-to-student relationship in after-school supports both the purpose and the potential of our program. And that brings me to the end of our presentation. Feel free to visit us anytime, and we're always looking for volunteers if you have a special skill set. Just get in touch with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Yes, please ask questions. We're available.
Oh, well, certainly. I just wanted to mention that my son attends this program, and it's so fabulous. It's one of the most exciting days of the year when the program brochure comes home and we get to pick out what classes he's going to be able to take. We can never choose because there's such an amazing range of athletic, artistic, engineering-based programs. And I just really feel so grateful that this program exists, because I don't know how it would be possible economically or even just in terms of coordination to expose my child to that range of disciplines and extracurricular opportunities if I had to go through private venues. And instead it's just available right here at the school. It's very affordable, and the teachers are so energetic and devoted to the kids. I'm so glad that this program exists, and I'm glad that we have our collaborative representative here that hopefully we can keep that relationship going.
That's terrific.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It's so impressive, all that you do. It's really remarkable.
Well, we love what we do, so there you go. It's a win-win.
That's exactly it. You can see how happy everybody is. It
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
It's wonderful.
It's great fun if we only had this as children, right?
Well,
Good
we're
night.
very grateful to
Thank you.
you. Thank
Thank
for the
you.
presentation.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So let's get this now.
Okay, we don't have James Mott here tonight.
No, James Mott had asked to come and talk about the Champions program, which is another supplemental enrichment program that we have in some of our schools, because we don't have enough funding to do the 21st Century grant programs in all of our schools to meet all of our needs. So we do have Champions, and that's been a successful program as well. And he's looking at expanding some of the options for families. And he informed me today that he wasn't going to be able to come after all, but we've rescheduled him for a later school committee meeting.
Okay. So we'll move on to our subcommittee reports. I don't believe we have a finance subcommittee report. Do we, Cynthia? No. Okay. And our policy review subcommittee, do you have any updates for us?
We are scheduled to meet, is it next week?
I think it's next week, yeah.
We will have a report next
I'll
week.
check my calendar.
And you're
We're
gonna be
meeting
looking
soon.
at, transportation policy?
Yes.
Yes, transportation
transportation.
policy and internal policies for the committee in the case of absences and those sorts of things.
Great.
Are on our agenda.
Very good. Then we'll move on to the Collaborative for Educational Services update. Cynthia.
Okay, I went to the meeting. It was much longer than we planned on because everybody got pretty passionate about the subject matter at hand. So we had planned on a meeting ending about 8:30, and I think it went 9:30, 9:45, but we're still going. We covered 3 basic things. The first was we had a Healthy Families presentation of the SPIFFy survey results. Does everybody know what SPIFFy survey results are? Those are given to the schools. They're students and parents, ranging on all sorts of issues such as drinking, alcohol, safety, bullying. So we really discussed all of the Hampshire-Franklin results as a whole. So that was pretty interesting to see that for the most part, schools are really going in a positive direction. A couple of things that really stood out for me were most kids felt that they had at least one safe individual at school that they could reach out to. And even in terms of bullying, most kids felt that they had somebody that they felt comfortable they could go to if there was a problem with that. So we spent a lot of time going through those results. Then we looked at the SMART goals for the executive director and his evidence of how he's been meeting those goals, or trying to, and we're working on weak areas. And then the last part was a discussion of how the collaborative as a whole, being so many different public school districts, could come together to start presenting public schools as a whole in terms of our successes. We were discussing charter and choice, but mostly charter, and really came up with the idea that as a whole group of schools, we don't gather to let everybody know how many people go on to college, how many people have these great careers that came out of public schools. And so we have a plan next meeting, which is in May, to really start to work on how can we do that as a whole collaborative team. So that was very exciting. Nobody left.
That's good. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Alexis White isn't able to be with us today, so we won't be having her student representative update. I don't
Yep.
know.
I raised this point in relation to this some years ago with a previous school committee, and I would like us to reconsider it. And I say this knowing that Alexis is fantastic, and that it's because she's so fantastic and because she's so committed that I think that it would be worth a conversation again about having an alternate, or about choosing the representative to the school committee and separating it from the currently it's the senior class president, correct?
No.
Sorry, the student council president.
Correct,
Right.
the student council president.
And I think that it's, as is true in many schools, and again, I say this applauding because I've been a witness to some of Alexis's extraordinary work, but I think that's the time to talk about it, is when you have a great person who just has so much going on that this becomes something that's difficult. I think it's vital to have the student representative here, and I think that either having an alternate who can come when the principal person in the position can attend, or choosing someone other than the president of the student council and giving a leadership opportunity to yet another student would be at least worth exploring. So I would urge and I assume this is something that the principal would talk about, Nancy, with your suggestion, but I don't know if anyone else on the committee feels the same way or would endorse that idea, but I offer it for consideration, if not tonight, at some future meeting. And again, I'm going to say for the third time, it's not about a criticism in any way. You know, I think Alexis is so engaged and has so many things going on that there's inevitably going to be conflicts like this, and then we don't hear from a student about many of the wonderful things that are going on at the school. And finding a mechanism to recover that, I think, would be terrific.
I wonder also if it would be possible even to have a virtual check-in, if Alexis can't be here, if she could give us a brief summary of a report from the student body. But I like this idea, Peter. I'm just thinking as an alternate if we aren't prepared to make that big of a change.
Certainly all good suggestions that I will share with Principal Burke and see if we can maybe make some changes that will help us better fulfill that need to have a representative here at the committee.
I think at one time the protocol was in place that the vice president of the student council would step in at the president, but that may have been lost in the translation over the
It may
various
just be a
terms that
matter of
come and
bringing
go.
that back.
Right.
And I do think one year there were two
There
who
were.
were sharing it. Do you
There were
remember
two.
that?
Right, we had
Peter?
co-presidents, right,
Yeah,
and they
so
shared, they
that might be a
alternated.
good idea too.
Or maybe Mr. Burke would feel that it might be valuable to have it be a standalone function,
Mhm.
separate from all the other responsibilities.
I will share all these very good ideas with him.
I would say, in her absence, I attended the Mr. Easthampton program last Friday night, and it was great. It proved to be as hilarious as ever, and it was a wonderful program, and the kids work so hard, and they're so talented. And for those of you who don't know what that really is it was the 10th year that this took place, 10th anniversary, and it's really kind of like a mock pageant for the junior and senior boys at the high school, and it's just a comedy scene. It's amazing how talented they all are. They're just funny. They put together these just crazy talent portions, and they have an interview portion, and what else, superhero portion, and all. It's just fun. It's a lot of fun. And the kids work so hard to put on this event. They have so many rehearsals. I can't even tell you the number of hours. My daughter was involved behind the scenes and helping out, as are like a number of kids, like 25 kids behind the scenes and helping out. And they just put in so much time and energy. And it's really cool to see all the boys who come from all different facets of school life, whether they be athletes or musicians or theater people or whatever their traditional role is, just gel and come together and work together and support each other, and it's just fabulous to watch. It's a lot of fun. So, and it all benefits which organization? It was Students Against Destructive Decisions.
Peer Partners, I think, is what.
Peer Partners now. So it's a benefit for a great cause at the high
our
school.
student
So,
activities.
yeah. So anyway, and it's a huge hit. It sells out very quickly. So next year, if you want tickets, you have to go right away to get tickets because it's sold out quickly. But anyway, so I know about that event, and I just wanted to share that with you. It was great fun.
Thank you.
Anything else? Does anybody else have anything to share about any student update information they may have? No. Okay, we'll move on to the Superintendent's Report.
Thank you. So I just wanted to bring two things to you this evening. One is an update on the football field lights. We're very excited about this. Conservation Community Committee has approved a funding request from the school department in collaboration with the Friends of Football to have lights installed on our football field, the field that's next to Whitebrook. We are one of the only school districts in the area without a lighted football field. So we are very excited about this because this will give us an opportunity to have Friday night games, which will mean there can be more community involvement. We can also use the football field for some other kinds of athletic events, some senior night soccer. We're thinking about starting a lacrosse club team that we might be able to do some lacrosse on the field. We can start our training earlier in the spring because the lights will and go farther into the fall because of the lighting in the field. So we're very excited about it. The Finance Subcommittee of the City Council is going to take it up in the very near future. I just got an email today about that. And then it goes to the full committee, full City Council for approval. And we're hoping to be able to begin the work at the end of June and be ready for the fall football season. So very, very excited about it, and certainly so grateful to the Conservation Community Committee and their support of this project. We went in front of them for, I think it was 3 or 4 meetings, just so they could understand exactly what the project was and what it would involve. And they asked some very good questions. They wanted to be sure that we left enough room around the field for a future track, because they think that would be a wonderful addition. And so yeah, I think it's very exciting, and we're going forward with it. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them, although I'm not the expert on the construction of the project.
It came up in a conversation the other day with a constituent about the potential locations for new the next new school building in town, and I assured them that the investment that we were making in this area wouldn't be undone
Right.
by that.
Correct.
That the areas that we're exploring for building a new building would not involve undoing any of this work.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. That will be part of what the design team does when they come in. I mean, they'll see that this is an already existing structure and an important structure, and the school building authority wants to know in building a project what we're doing for athletic fields. That was part of the high school project, and it would be part of this, not athletic fields necessarily. Well, it would be middle school, yeah, it could be athletic fields, but also areas for students to have some, playground space and green space and so forth. So I think it's going to be a nice combination.
And I asked that question because I know one of the worst decisions I made was when I was fresh on the school committee was voting to paint the pool at Whitebrook, which was money that would disappear if we didn't spend it on that. But nonetheless, in hindsight, spending that money there and then seeing it never, move forward, I just want to be sure that though this isn't money, because it's grant-based money, that will cover this, correct?
Correct.
But still, not encouraging the expenditure of money that would in some way get undone.
Grant-based is it's actually your CPA funds is what it is.
Right.
And when the CPA, it's a very detailed committee, and when they go through it, as Nancy witnessed, and and being at the meetings, when they believe all the criteria and all the details they have, then they request me to put forward a funding request. So it's to use the CPA funds.
Right.
So it's, these are very important funds, as you can see what we have done with them in this community, over the few years that we've had CPA funds. So it's things that we would never have been able to do.
Redoing the football field for one, which made it safe and really a wonderful place for our football players.
Exactly.
Okay. So the next thing on my report is to give you an update on PARCC assessments. I sent you an email with PARCC data from the PARCC 2015 assessments. I'm going to go over that a little bit. I've got a PowerPoint with, I think, 3 slides just to show you a little bit more about PARCC and the assessment system, state assessment system. I want to kind of explain to you what we did in 2015, what we're in the process of doing now, and our goals in terms of being successful with PARCC. So I'm going to move over to the podium and our computer. Put that on screen.
Do you recall the date for this? I meant to pull it up electronically.
When we got the PARCC from Nancy.
Sue, do you recall did the PARCC report come as an attachment? I'm just trying to pull it up electronically.
I sent it to you in an email, and it was probably on Friday, last Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to make does anybody want a copy of this to have in front of them?
I would love a copy.
Are
Make a few copies.
you going to have it on the PowerPoint?
No, I won't
I gotta go back in.
It's too hard to see on the PowerPoint. And some of this work on the, not some of it, most all of it, the work that I'm going to show you on the 2015 PARCC was done previously by our curriculum director, Polly Parker, who's on a medical leave right now. So, but thanks to her, she did an excellent job of pulling together a lot of data for us. Okay. So I'll start off, and then by the time that Sue gets those copies, you'll have those in front of you. So I'm going to give you some background on the state assessments and how the scores on these assessments are used. Districts that chose to take the PARCC assessment last year were held harmless for their scores. And what this meant is that if the performance improved, moving the district into a higher level, the district would be classified at that level. If performance was such that it would move the district into a lower level, the district would be called what's held harmless and remain at the previous level of classification. This was one of the reasons we as a district with my leadership team decided we were going to try the park last year, because we figured that having that experience was going to be helpful for us. And this shows you how the state classifies schools. So schools are classified in levels 1 through 5, with 1 being the highest level and 5 being the level at which the state takes over the operation of a district. There's also a level called commendation schools, a designation given to schools showing high achievement in a year. In Easthampton, performance improved at all elementary schools. This is in taking the park. Our performance improved in all of our elementary schools. And therefore, their classification levels rose to a higher level. So Maple went from a level 3 to a level 2. Center went from a level 2 to a level 1. Pepin went from a level 2 to a level 1 and was designated by the commissioner as a commendation school for extraordinary achievement in a year. We're very proud of that. Whitebrook and the high school remained at their previous levels. Whitebrook remains at level 3 and the high school is at level 1. It's important to remember that our middle school is required to do more testing than any of the other schools, and more testing than most middle schools, because we have our 5th grade in the middle school configuration. A school district is classified at the level of the lowest classification of school, which doesn't seem appropriate to me, but nevertheless, it is why our district is still a level 3 district. All schools taking PARCC this year, if we had taken PARCC last year, we were required to take PARCC again this year. And so all of our schools will be taking PARCC again, and we will also this year be held harmless again, which is important to us. So that means that we will have 3 of our 5 schools in level 1, 1 school in level 2, and 1 school in level 3, and we have the opportunity to move those schools in levels 2 and 3 up levels through the PARCC assessment. MCAS is still being taken in the high school because MCAS is still a graduation requirement. There were some PARCC assessments that could be taken as well, but we determined that we would stay with the MCAS at the high school level. So these are some of the ways that there's a complicated formula actually that determines the level of a school and of a district, not of a district, but of a school rather. These are some of the parts of that complicated formula. And if you want to know all the ins and outs of PPI and CPI and everything that's involved in this, I'd be happy to do that in another presentation, but that's a complicated presentation. So the annual measurable objectives that are used to determine a school's level are these. Participation, so 95% of all students must participate, this was an older slide, in MCAS or PARCC. If less than 95% are participating, then you automatically cannot be a level 1 school. And if less than 90% participate, then you are automatically a level 3 school. Achievement. To meet or exceed the statewide or group-specific gap closing targets. So closing the achievement gap is one of the major measurements for school districts and schools. Another indicator is to meet or exceed student growth or improvement targets. And we have improvement targets that we are to make over time. So it's a cumulative type of improvement that's expected. Again, this is what makes it sometimes challenging to go from one level to another. Attendance, which we already spoke about, and graduation rate is also considered in the determination of a level in a district. So if you look now at the data on the sheet that you have in front of you or on your computer, I'll talk a little bit specifically about the PARCC data in our district. And I'm going to show you this slide before that so you can understand this chart a little bit better. Student performance is also leveled. So level 1 did not yet meet expectations. You can see this at the top of your chart.
The opposite direction.
Level 2 is partially met expectations. Level 3 is approached expectations. Level 4 is met expectations, and level 5 is exceeded expectations. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the scores and the levels that they fell in, overall elementary and middle school, and also school by school.
Nancy?
Yes.
I apologize. Was it deliberate by DESE to choose to use numbers that are exact
Yeah,
reverse?
we're just commenting on that.
Probably.
But it just seems.
Right.
I mean, given how many things that we deal with that people judge at a distance, to suddenly be level 5,
Yes.
and someone's thinking in the old language, they think, well, that's bad.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Probably
adding an
just that-
element of,
It's probably that there's somebody different who does the park.
I would say that's a very good question.
Yeah.
We were just thinking the same thing.
One never knows
Just-
exactly why the state's doing what they're
Like I
doing.
said, just the exact opposite.
Yes,
it's just.
I think it's really meant to confuse us, because once we think we have one system down, they change it, and then we have to learn that system.
But I mean, it's purely an optional choice. It does, you could design your labels in either direction, and choosing to design them deliberately in a way that's opposite only begs this whole conversation, which is too bad.
Confusing. Anyway.
I agree.
All right, moving on. So you'll see that at the elementary scores, at the elementary schools, if you look at that, you'll see that our scores are mirroring the state's scores fairly closely and coming in higher than the state in ELA, English Language Arts. Grade 3 scores were approximately the same as the state's. Grade 4 scores also mirrored the state scores. Our students did outscore the state in both the ELA and math in the total combined scores on 4s and 5s, those highest levels. Let's keep that in mind. Thank you, Peter, for pointing that out. The 2 highest levels. Grade 4 students scored mostly in the upper categories. No grade 4 students received 1s. Pretty interesting data, I think. And I'll talk now a little bit more specifically about each school. Center School was right on target with the state in grade 3 math. In grade 3 ELA, scores were slightly below the state in the lower categories, meaning more in the lower categories, but the same in levels 3 and 4. And Center grade 4 scores were overall better than the state's in both subjects. If we turn to Pepin now, Pepin scored higher than the state in both levels 4 and 5 for both grades 3 and 4 for both subjects. And you can begin to see why Pepin was designated accommodation school. Pepin had no grade 4 students score 1s in math, and no grade 4 students score 1s or 2s in ELA, English Language Arts. Both grade 4 ELA and math for Pepin scored above 75% in levels 4 and 5. And Pepin was therefore named accommodation school by the commissioner for this achievement. We look at Maple now. Maple's grade 3 scores mirrored the state scores very closely in both subjects too. Maple's grade 4 scores were slightly higher than the state's for both subjects, ELA and math, in the 4s and 5s. And Maple had no students score 1s in grade 4 in either subject. Our middle school comes next on the chart. Grade 5 trailed the state in percentages in both subjects, ELA and math. The scores were higher in ELA than in math. Grade 6, ELA percentages mirrored state percentages, and we matched the state in the 4-5 category. The grade 6 math results were lower than the ELA results and fell below the state percentages in the 4-5 category. Grade 7 ELA scores almost matched the state's 4-5 scores, while our grade 7 math scores fell below the state percentages. Grade 8 scores fell below the state percentages for both the ELA and the math in the 4-5 category. The biggest area of attention at the middle school, I've done a lot of data analysis, and Polly, before she left, was doing some very in-depth data analysis. But our biggest areas of challenge are in math and in special education. It's the scores of our special education students who are impacting the scores overall of the students at Whitebrook Middle School. So we're looking very closely now at restructuring, and we've talked about this earlier, I think, restructuring our special education programs at the middle school and making them more inclusive and trying to limit as much as possible the pull-out programs, because the research shows that that is far more effective. There was just a report that came out from DESE about special education, and it clearly indicated that inclusion is the preferred method of instruction for special education students. One issue that we've had in the past is having enough teachers at Whitebrook, special education teachers, to provide the services. But this year we're able to shift things around, and with some of the initiatives that we've put in the budget, we believe that we're going to be able to make a shift up there. But in addition to that, all this year we've been doing some other approaches at the middle school. We're completing a multi-year of professional development with Ann Collins, Mathematics Department Chair at Lesley University. That's been a tremendous professional development for our mathematics teachers. We're implementing a vertically aligned literacy program. I've talked to you about this before, K-6, Making Meaning, that supports critical thinking and independent problem solving and contains a strong social emotional component. Our students have had great success. This is regular ed students and special education students with this program, and we expect it to have a strong positive effect on student achievement. Our administrators and teachers are receiving support from our regional state-funded District and School Assistance Center, DSAC. DSAC grants have provided opportunities for teams of teachers to participate in multiple-day professional development opportunities in school turnaround strategies and school turnaround models. They've been able to visit other schools, and they've been able to examine this in depth. They've also been creating a focus group through DSAC among staff to research effective turnaround models. And again, this is supported by DSAC in our school setting as well. And in addition, we're continuing to update and improve our curriculum and scope and sequence all the time to keep it aligned with the state standards. Any questions on that before I move on?
How much time do we have? You mentioned that we're held harmless last year and this year, but in the event that these scores were binding on us, they would have an impact on, once translated from the 1 to 5 in one direction, in the other. So how much time do we have to achieve this turnaround in inclusion and math instruction at Whitebrook?
Well, I think that we have this year and next year to turn this around. I think we've made some good strides this year. The assessments will show whether what we hope has happened has happened. But again, it's a cumulative scoring that the state does. So what we've had in the past is going to be added to what we do this year and next year. So the same thing happened at our high school, however, so I am optimistic. Our high school was level 3 and had some very low scores early on in several years, a couple of years of very low scores. We put in the learning walk model and worked with DSAC, and within 2 years we were out of level 3 and into level 1. So it is possible. And we're trying to do the same thing at the middle school, but we have a bigger grade span, bigger diversity in student body, and a number of factors that we're addressing to try to help us move in that direction. I say we're very optimistic with the programs that we've put in this year, but it will take this year and next year to, I hope, get us out of level 3. That's our plan. Other questions, Marissa?
A question, I don't know if it's appropriate at this moment, but as a committee we're looking at these numbers for the district and for buildings, but I talked to a lot of parents who have concerns about standardized assessment. I think we all know that there's a lot of negative reputations around these sort of forms of assessment, and I hear of parents who have questions about opting out for their individual student, and I'm wondering if you could speak to the implications for students as individuals, and as well as for the building and for the district. I know you mentioned a little bit about needing to meet that 95% level, but I think it's something that I would like to know more about, and then I would like to be able to speak to families about what are the benefits to our students for participating in these assessments.
As a matter of fact, that is part of my presentation.
Oh, sorry. I'm jumping.
No, I'm happy that you
Yeah.
brought that up, and I know that we do have a number of families who have concerns about it, so I did want to address it tonight.
Okay.
I will address it in not a lengthy manner, but I can certainly address it more completely in another session if you'd like, after you hear what I have to say tonight, and if I haven't answered all the questions, I'd be happy to do that. So I want to just talk a little bit about what we're doing in assessment this year, and then I'll get out to that opt-out piece.
Thank you.
The high school will again take the MCAS assessment because it is still a graduation requirement. In addition, Whitebrook will take the science MCAS in grades 5 and 8 because there is not a PARCC MCAS, or a PARCC science assessment. All students in grades 3 through 8 will take the for the first time, all students in grades 3 through 8 will take the PARCC assessment again this year in ELA and math. So all 3 through 8, just like last year, will take the PARCC assessment in ELA and math. And for the first time, and this is what I think is pretty exciting and pretty interesting, Pepin will take the computer-based PARCC assessment. So last year, all the grades took the paper-based assessment. We wanted to take the PARCC to experience it, but we did not feel that we were ready to do the computer-based. As a leadership team this year, we decided that we'd try to have at least one of our schools experience the computer-based assessment while we're still being held harmless. So Allison Ribello, the principal of Pepin School, volunteered her school to take the assessment, and this will give us an experience with this assessment. So we've been doing a lot to prepare for this computer-based assessment, CBA. I'm going to start abbreviating it CBA. So students at Pepin School have been using a Type to Learn program to learn how to use a computer keyboard. They've been having lots of fun with that. Starting 3 weeks ago, teachers began giving students practice tests from PARCC. And these are designed to show students how to perform the tasks they will need to perform during the test, such as to highlight text, to drag and drop, and to copy text. So they've been having a lot of fun doing that. I was actually in one of the classrooms where they were working on that. Ashley Barstow, our tech director, and his assistant Darren Paulus have been assisting the principal, Allison Ribello, in learning her role in the CBA and in getting her school ready for the test. They've done an amazing job in getting our technology ready, and you know how very proficient they are in that, so we're very fortunate to have them here with us. Next Wednesday, the 3rd and 4th grades will be doing an infrastructure trial. This is something that PARCC allows you to do before the test. And they'll be doing that with Ashley and Darren present, and this is an opportunity to iron out any of the technology kinks related to taking the test on the computer. So it's like a practice run with all the technology and how it will operate during the test. Students will be taking the assessments on the new laptop computers the school was able to purchase with the funds from the Apple a Day 5K race last fall. And again, we're so thankful to Andrew Foster and all the people who volunteered to help him organize the race, because with that money we were able to buy a brand new laptop cart and laptops. And these, I just brought a sample tonight to show you the little laptops that our students will be using on the assessment. And when I was in the classroom, you can see I've got the little sign in the back. When I was in the classroom, 4th grade classroom, I guess it was last week, all the kids had these on their desks, and they were all, typing away and working on them. And the teacher, and I think she had an assistant in her room too, was they were roving around and monitoring it, but everybody seemed to be having a great time. And my colleagues who have given computer-based assessments in their districts, Gateway and East Longmeadow being 2 of them, found that it was not as challenging as they thought it would be, and that the kids actually preferred it to the paper-based test. So I'm hoping the same will be true for us. But I do feel very confident. Allison Rebel has done an amazing job in getting her students to feel comfortable with this, her teachers to feel comfortable with it. Ashley Barstow and Darren Paulus have done an amazing job in helping Allison to get comfortable with it and to make sure that our technology is just right for this assessment. So we're actually quite looking forward to this experience. I do think it's important to mention right here that in Easthampton we do not spend huge amounts of time on test prep. I know sometimes that's a misconception in families in the district. We do not. We don't have our students taking hours and hours worth of MCAS-like or PARCC-like assessments. We don't do that for days on end. We believe that good classroom instruction is the key to good results on state assessments. We do give our students an opportunity to experience an MCAS-like or a PARCC-like assessment. That's part of preparing for any test. And this is done as any instruction would occur with modeling, support, time for independent practice, and then an opportunity to learn from the experience of taking the test. It's really done very much like classroom instruction. These assessments are, I want to point this out, Marissa, this answers one of your questions. These assessments are not high stakes for grades 3 through 8. They do not count in any way towards a student's grades or promotion, not a bit. The only high-stakes test is the MCAS, grade 10, and graduation would be the high stake in that test. We simply encourage
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's for the individuals. It does have an impact on the school.
On the school and the district, yes. But in terms of our students, because I think we want to reassure parents. I think sometimes they think that the students don't do well on the test, it's going to somehow impact their school experience, or maybe their promotion. It doesn't have any impact on them. I am going to speak about the impact that I think it does have that can be positive. But I would like to take the time now to discuss this opt-out a little bit. So some of our parents have heard other parents talking about choosing to have their children opt out or refuse to take the assessments. I would encourage all parents to get the facts before considering not having their children take the state assessments. And facts I would like parents to consider are, and I didn't write this one down, but now that we've been talking about MCAS, at some point in their school career, they aren't going to have to take a state assessment unless it changes in order to graduate from any high school in the state. So this, in a way, is a preparation for being able to take those state assessments and understanding what they're about. I think that's a small piece of it, but here's some other facts that I think that I would like parents to consider. State law requires all students who are educated with Massachusetts public funds to participate in a statewide student assessment program. The statute does not contain an opt-out provision. Parents somehow think there is an opt-out provision. There is not. For parents to remove their children from participating. In short, participation in the statewide assessment is mandatory. Schools testing less than 95%, as we mentioned, in any group on any of the required state assessments are automatically ineligible for level 1. And this impacts the well-being of your school district and your school. You know that choice is an issue for our district as it is for other districts. And parents are less likely to choose to send their children into a district or to keep their children in a district if the levels are falling. And if the levels are falling because of attendance, then that seems a bit tragic. Schools testing less than 90%, as I said earlier, automatically fall into level 3. And with these lower levels, there is more state takeover in the operations of schools and the district. So there's more state takeover as soon as you fall into those lower levels. And there may be financial penalties for schools. That's a possibility. It hasn't happened yet, but it's a possibility for schools who do not assess a high enough percentage of their students. But it's also important to consider there are also positives for parents, a school, and the district to these state assessments. And here's some of the positives that I would like to list. One, They allow us to spotlight effective practices and share them throughout the district. And we have grade levels or classrooms, and we can see data by classrooms that really are showing some tremendous effectiveness. We can capture that and share it with other teachers and classrooms in the school. Number two, it promotes a consistency of alignment with state standards and curriculum and instruction, supporting high-quality instruction for all students in our schools. I remember I was teaching back before MCAS existed, and in that day and age, there were teachers who taught what they wanted to teach, regardless of what the curriculum was, because their students weren't going to be assessed to a certain standard. And I remember there was an elementary teacher who taught World War I, because, or World War II maybe it was, because that was something that teacher particularly liked. Not appropriate. Number three, teachers and administrators are provided with detailed analysis of student test results, offering important information on where curriculum is effective and where instruction needs to be strengthened. It really helps us look at our curriculum instruction and to continue to make it stronger, to continue to make efforts to make it stronger. And number four, parents receive objective feedback on their children's progress. So right now, parents receive feedback from their teachers, and it's wonderful feedback. But this is feedback that is, you know, objective across the district and across the state. So it gives a way of comparing your children's progress. We are proud of our schools, and we're proud of the strong academic and social emotional curriculum that we have here in Easthampton. And state assessments do show us and our community, I believe, our strengths and help us know where we can improve. So I think that these are reasons that I would put forward as positive reasons for including your students in the testing. I also will add that the state does not require us to provide instruction for students who refuse to take the test. So if your student is in the school and has refused to take the test, they will be put in a place, you know, a classroom or a room that's supervised, and probably be given a book to read or something to that effect, which seems like a it would be a long day without that, you know, interaction with their colleagues and their peers and the instruction. And in some ways, the assessment can be informative in terms of instructional also. I mean, I think it helps students learn, you know, what they have learned and things that maybe they would need to focus some more on. Marissa.
Thank you. It's interesting to hear you talk about it because in a certain way, the fact that these assessments at the lower level are low stakes sort of lends itself to the individualistic argument that, well, then just I'm going to relieve my child of the individual responsibility. But it seems like in these broader questions we've been having, these conversations we've been having about the value of a public education, there's these extraordinary benefits to being part of a public education system, and it also comes with a certain responsibility back to that district. And so I wonder if that's something that we can really figure out how to talk with our families about the fact that these assessments are one of the ways that our students participate in and give back to the district. It's the social contract of public education as it stands.
That's
right
a great point, Marissa, and something that I think I certainly could include in my superintendent update.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
And I think you framed that very well. You know, personally, I would feel that way as well, that it is part of that social contract of public education. And it does help us. It helps us to get these results because it does help us continue to improve the programs, the education that we provide for our students.
Do you know offhand what our percentages have been?
I don't know it in percentages. I think we had approximately 30 students at the middle school not take the test last year. We are hoping to lower that number. We'd like to lower it to 0, but I think this year our principals are doing more one-on-one conversations with parents. They're bringing them in, asking them to come in and have a meeting and to talk about the things we're talking about tonight. The elementary school, it was much lower. It was just a few students in in each school.
And relieving concerns is always helpful, but also the fact that there is not an opt-out. You know, again, misperception, but just trying to relieve anybody's concerns.
And it does hurt your school,
Right.
and it hurts your school district if you choose to refuse to have your children take these assessments.
Are people surprised to hear that it's mandatory?
You know, we say that, and we say it, and we say it, but I think that they choose to think that it's a parent's right.
Choice.
And, you know, it is. But I think there's a responsibility, too, as a member of a public school district and a public school, to support your school and to support your district. So we can give back to you as well.
As you said, at some point, all students have to take it for a graduation requirement. So it's a life lesson to take these assessments at a younger age. You know, you might not do as well as you might want to, but by the time you've taken them year after year for a number of years, you're going to be more ready to take that high stakes graduation requirement test. So I think, you know, that's an important lesson, an important reason for kids at a younger age to actually take it.
And what you've just both touched on, the understanding. An understanding of what's involved is crucial. Sometimes people just don't understand, and you know, once they have the information, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and that's what we're
that's a good
doing
way
now.
to go
And
about it.
I know another concern of parents is that it's traumatic to children to take these assessments. I just want to assure all the parents of the students in our district that we make every effort to not make this seem like it's high stakes, to make it seem like it's part of what you do in terms of your school day, that it's, you know, it actually could be somewhat enjoyable. You know, so we really try to lower the stress on this entirely. We don't want any of our children to feel stressed about something because we're worried that a school is going to do this or do that. Or that's not who we are. You know, we provide that good, high-quality instruction. We support our students. We support our students in learning how to take this assessment, and we just ask that they do their best. Peter?
So, and our the charter school students also take all these tests at the same stages, correct?
Right.
One other question, and I don't know how many students in the district this falls into, but the state allowing us not to provide the education for the families that choose to opt out. I hope that that's a theoretical consequence and not an actual one as a matter of practice, because it would seem at whatever point the family converts back to the idea of participating, the student would have lost all of the learning up to that point, and that we would therefore only increase the likelihood that whenever they do re-enter the testing world, that they would be behind.
Well,
She was talking about
it's just during the testing
during that
day.
day.
Right. It's just during the test time. It's not a
Right.
matter of instruction.
No,
No,
Right.
it's
No,
during
no.
the test.
No, it's just because the teacher is involved with giving the
Right.
assessment to the
Right.
students. Then the students who aren't taking the test, we have to, if they come to school, we're going to keep them occupied, but it wouldn't be a day of instruction.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think one thing that I've also heard parents are concerned about is the amount of time that the test itself takes. And I know that teachers are concerned about this as well. So I was just kind of wondering how, I know that 8th grade's a pretty big year, maybe not focusing on 8th grade since there's a lot of tests that happen there, but say for for the 3rd graders, how much time are they spending taking these, just taking them? I'm not even talking about the prep, how many days is it?
I think it is, it depends on how the principal schedules it. So if the principal schedules a morning and an afternoon, it'd probably be for each day and a day, or for each test rather, an hour and a half, day and a half. And if it's scheduled just in the morning, then it would be the 6 days.
Right.
Now, I do want to say that what teachers like about this is it does not take it. We are not having kids involved in testing for nearly as long as we did with the MCAS, because the MCAS was not a time test. So sometimes the whole day would be spent with one test.
Right.
And
where the perception
with the
came
PARCC, if you're taking it in the morning, it's a time test. It's the test itself is 60 minutes, and I think they ask you to allow 90 minutes for getting people it prepped and so forth. So that's it. That's the end of the testing session in that morning, and then you can go on and do instruction in that day.
Right.
So it really is, to me, a better assessment in that respect, because you can do instruction and take the PARCC assessment, where with the MCAS, the whole day was devoted
Right.
to MCAS.
Right.
Probably remember that.
Oh yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to know in having these conversations. The other question I have, which is just I don't even know, you might not even know the answer to this, but in terms of like the meals that are being served at school during the test days, the breakfast and the lunches, is there any? Do they change at all, or is that just kind of whatever's on the menu? Because I remember when I used to work at a school, and I remember like on one of the MCAS days, they just gave everybody like pita bread with sugar and cinnamon on it for breakfast, and like, and I was like, oh man, we're gonna do great on the MCAS this year.
No.
But I was just wondering if anybody had thought about that, or.
Well, interesting. That's a good question, Sarah. The state came out with nutritional guidelines. I think it was 3 years ago. And so we have to have, every meal that's served has to have X amount of protein, X
Right.
amount of whole grains, and so those are the meals that we serve.
So every
And
day
then-
is a testing day then?
Yeah, well, exactly. And we also provide nutritious snacks
Okay.
on testing days
Okay, cool.
to
I
our
didn't realize that.
students. Anything else?
I think oftentimes students like the testing days because they don't get homework that night.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
There's always something
Well,
good.
I think a lot of things that I think a lot of parents remember taking these tests, and they remember them being traumatic,
Injury.
and their children, might be picking up on some of that anxiety, or maybe they are picking up on just kind of, there's a lot of people who have test anxiety for whatever reason.
Sure.
So I think I think that's absolutely a huge, I think a lot of parents are thinking of like, kind of a bigger picture, what do I want my kid to be experiencing at school? Like there's so little I can control about their day, I remember that these tests were really invasive and scary for me, and now they're doing even more of them, it seems like. So I can definitely see where they're coming from. I think just kind of more communication and a better understanding for them about what it's actually like for their kids.
Well, and that's a good point. So I'll just reiterate that, in the elementary schools, oftentimes they're just taking the assessment for 90 minutes in the morning. And that's not a long period of time. And then the rest of the day is a regular day. Recess, lunch, And usually I think the teachers try to plan something that's really kind of fun in the afternoon, instructional but fun. So.
I think that's true too, because in addition to not getting homework typically on MCAS days, there always seems to be some sort of special programming that goes on that is stress-free kind of
Like-
program, some kind of special things that they do. And,
Like things.
yeah, which, I don't know, I've just noticed that kids sometimes get excited about all that.
Our teachers do an amazing job at making this as low stakes and non-threatening as possible, and as enjoyable as possible. I wish you could all have been with me when I was in that 4th grade classroom with the kids on their little laptops. Nobody seemed the least bit stressed. They all seemed pretty happy doing what they were doing. So.
Well, and I think one of the good kind of effects from this too is that you've got a bunch of kids who have now learned how to type at school, which is always an issue, is figuring out how to fit that in. And a lot of schools just don't teach typing, and it's absolutely an essential skill. So
Yeah, I think it's a good thing in many ways. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we have some matters for action. Our school choice district, we need to vote.
Motion to approve that we make the Easthampton continue to have the Easthampton Public Schools remain as a school choice district.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much.
And you don't have the school choice openings this evening. My principals were not able to get those to me in time to put them on this agenda. We'll have them on the next agenda, but we will be advertising that we are a school choice school now.
Okay. And maybe we should just clarify for anyone watching this meeting that to vote to become a school choice district means that we invite students from other districts to be a part of our school district. And it doesn't mean other students in our district have the ability to go elsewhere if they choose, but we're not voting on that. That's something that happens automatically, but we're voting to allow students to come into our district, just to clarify. Okay. Moving on, we need to approve the minutes from the March 22nd, 2016 public hearing.
Second?
All those in favor?
Can I add something to that? We need to add the stipulation to hold the executive session minutes from March 22nd and April 6th until those matters are resolved.
Okay. Okay, very good. We don't need to vote on that, do we? No.
It should be the motion.
Oh, that should be part of the motion, withholding the minute. Okay, so should we make an amendment?
Did everyone vote?
Do we vote?
Do I still get to vote even if I wasn't there?
You can. You know, we determined that it is okay even if you were not present, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Okay, did we have a vote on that? I'm sorry. All right, let's.
A motion by Peter and a second by Marissa. I didn't see a full vote.
Well, I didn't. I was going to ask if I could vote, but if I can vote, then I'll be pro.
Okay, so
Right, so-
we have a motion.
Right, and I would move that we amend the original motion to include the notation that the matters relevant to the executive committee meetings be held until they are resolved.
Okay, very good, thank you. And is there a second?
I second.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay, thank you very much. Before moving on to the approval of the March 22nd regular session minutes, meeting minutes, I wanted to ask for a revision on those minutes with regard to the comments under public speak. The last sentence currently reads that Superintendent Follansbee will have Mr. Roy check into a light shield. That was with regard to the comments by Mr. Wernaz. And I would like to request that sentence be changed slightly because Superintendent Follansbee stated at that meeting, and I did in my communication with Mr. Wernaz prior to that Mr. Roy did check into a light shield, that had already taken place. But in fact, what was happening at this point was that Superintendent Follansbee said that Mr. Wernaz could speak directly with Mr. Roy about that topic to discuss that further. So I was wondering if we could approve those minutes with that change, modification.
Sure.
Okay, would we have a motion
Second.
to approve with the modification?
Motion to approve the meetings of March 22nd with the regular school committee meeting with the modification that Superintendent Follansbee will, I'm sorry, is it direct or invite? That we wanted to say, direct or invite?
She instructed Mr.
Instructed.
Wernaz to talk to Mr. Roy directly.
Okay.
Or invited, I think invited,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, offer, right.
So that's the motion then.
Need a facility.
Okay.
Did that come through, Sue? Thank you. So we need a second for that
Second.
and then a vote.
Second?
All those in favor? Thank you very much. Warrants and payroll.
All right.
Can you hand with any of that?
Oh my God, thank you.
Great.
I move to approve the school payroll dated March 31st, 2016 in the amount of $455,575.46.
Okay.
Sorry. Maybe a little bit of a slow thing.
A motion has been made and it has been seconded to approve the school payroll dated March 31st, 2016 in the amount of $455,575.46.
Who seconded?
All those in favor? Thank you.
I apologize for this.
Okay.
Alright. I move to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated March 31st, 2016 in the amount of $229,396.19.
Second.
A motion has been made and it has been seconded to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated March 31st, 2016 in the amount of $229,396.19. All those in favor? Motion passes.
I move to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated April 7, 2016 in the amount of $26,525.
Second.
A motion has been made and it has been seconded to approve the school payroll dated, oh, you said accounts payable?
Accounts payable, yes.
I'm sorry, to approve accounts payable authorization for payment dated April 7th, 2016 in the amount of $26,525. All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you.
For payroll, I move to approve the school payroll dated April 14th, 2016 in the amount of $476,254.53.
Second.
A motion has been made and it has been seconded to approve the school payroll dated April 14th, 2016 in the amount of $476,254.53. All those in favor? Motion passes.
And final, for accounts payable, I move to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated April 14th, 2016 in the amount of $272,134.09.
Second.
A motion has been made and it has been seconded to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated April 14th, 2016 in the amount of $272,134.09. All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you.
Motion to approve the budget transfer request for Center Pepin in the amount of $18,832 for services that were previously contracted that are now delivered by a school district employee.
Okay, we have one change to be made on that request, budget transfer request.
Sorry?
No, that's fine. And that's with regard to the reason for the transfer request. I guess this was an error. And do you want to speak to that, Nancy?
The reason should have been, it was put on a form and the reason wasn't changed. The reason should have been budgeted in SPED, a special education line, and should have been budgeted in the library line.
So I'll withdraw the motion and move instead that we approve the transfer request in the amount of $18,832 to align the expenditure with the correct account.
Yes, very good.
Is there a second?
Second it.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you.
I did.
We also have a request to open 2 school choice slots at Easthampton High School in grade 9 for this school year. And it happens to be 2 students that we already have that have been students all year. And that request would allow them to stay for the remainder of the year.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?